your churches and the pastors and priests have doubled down on not using the scriptures to talk about fulfilled prophecy. All of a sudden, the Catholic Church and its subsidiaries, all these harlots, are all talking about going on a forgiveness tour. It's all about forgiveness and forgetting and moving on. But that's not even scriptural. This was shared with me. I want to share it with you guys. A call to forgive and love. See, that's what they're all into right now, forgiving and loving. But they're not admitting their history. Let's first go over and let's examine your history, and then we'll decide if we want to forgive and love and move on. And it really doesn't matter what we feel. It really matters what the Most High talks about. See, it's all about the prophecies. It already was talked about, just like when the fallen angels went ahead and came down, slept with women, made the giants. Then all of a sudden they started thinking about the consequences for their actions. Then all of a sudden they wanted Enoch to go and intercede for them and everything else because they knew that there was going to be consequences that were coming. And that's what's going on even today. They know there's consequences coming for the things that they've done. But they just want us all to just pray for them. And they're doing it all sneakily by pushing these kinds of things so they can try to get us Israelites into these buildings to, so the Most High can hear our prayers of forgiving and loving. But that's not going to work. See, the Pope has also been pushing this BS as well. Christians must not be oppressed by guilt, but filled with joy, the Pope says. Okay? At his weekly general audience, Pope Francis said that when someone feels guilty about his or her sins, all the person has to do is ask God for forgiveness. It's what God does best. See, why all of a sudden are we worried about forgiveness in 2023? Why are we even bringing it up? See, we got to look at your history first. You're not going to be able to just say we need forgiveness, but then never talk about what you need forgiveness for. Be specific. Talk about your history. Talk about the things that your church has done. Then ask for forgiveness. Don't just make it all a generality and just kind of throw it out there. But let's continue. This is a continuation of that same story. Christians must not put pressure on others to convert or induce them, feelings of guilt, but take a weight off their shoulders through joyfully sharing the gospel, Pope Francis said. Now, when exactly has the Catholic Church ever cheerfully and joyfully shared the gospel? They've always done it at the end of a sword. That is your history. So you're not going to be able to just walk away from that. At his general audience, January 25th, the Pope explained that Jesus frees people from all forms of oppression and that this freedom is cause for joy. But see, you guys brought oppression worldwide. So yeah, maybe Yahushua did do that. But you guys, when you had your opportunity to actually go around and be loving and just share the gospel and let people make their own choices, you used the sword. Oppressed is the one who feels crushed by something that happens in life. Illness, struggles, burdens on the heart, feelings of guilt, errors, vices, sins, said Pope Francis. Let us think, for example, about feelings of guilt. How many of us have suffered from this? See, when we talk about your history, you have a huge amount of guilt because you know what you've done. Just like the fallen angels, they came in and they did horrible things. You did exactly the same thing. If someone feels guilty about something they did and they feel bad, he said, the good news is that with Jesus, this ancient evil of sin, which seems unbeatable, no longer has the last word. God forgets all our sins. He has no memory of them. That's not true. He's been keeping record this entire time. But see, that's what they want you to believe. So that's why you won't look at their history, because they're going to say, well, God just forgave us all of our history, all the death and destruction we brought through the Inquisition. God has just forgotten all that, which is totally a lie. Not true whatsoever. But they're using a lot of these churches to push the same doctrine, just like they all have their, they have their agenda, they have their curriculum. You got these other churches doing exactly the same thing. The Vatican and the Catholics want a whole forgiveness tour, and all of a sudden you're seeing these churches talking about the same thing. And I heard from one of these Christian YouTubers they were talking about someone. They were like, well, it doesn't matter if, that you're a Hebrew Israelite. You should be just pushing the love of Jesus. See, that's exactly what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that nothing that they've done matters, that everything is now just going forward and it's all about the love of Jesus, because they want you to get in these churches. They want your prayers because they know the Most High is not hearing any of their prayers. You think the Most High is hearing the prayers of people who support a church that has gone against has been an adversary against the Most High and his people? You really think the Most High is hearing their prayers? No, they're trying to get you to go into their churches because you're the one that the Most High is listening to. And you can see that's very evident today. Let's take a quick look here at this book. Another book that the Catholics would burn in and everything else because it just gives you so much information. ISIS Unveiled. Okay? Mysteries of Ancient and Modern Science and Theology. We're looking at Volume 2, the Theology section. You guys are always talking about the love of Jesus, but check this out. When dying on the cross, the martyred man of sorrows forgave his enemies. His last words was a prayer in their behalf. He taught his disciples to curse not, but to bless even their foes. But the heirs of St. Peter, the self-constituted representatives on earth of that same meek Jesus, unhesitatingly curse whoever resists their despotic will. That's what they've done. Anyone that went against anything that they've said has been killed. So you can't sit here and talk about love, love, love when your whole history has been nothing but raping, robbing, murdering anyone that goes against what you say. You can't be speaking out of both sides of your mouth because this is your history. Let's take a quick look here at White Awake, an honest look at what it means to be white. The act of encoding white supremacy into foundational documents did not end with the Declaration. It splashed across the pages of the U.S. Constitution as well. Written during the height of slavery in America, Article 1, Section 2, Paragraph 3 says this about people of African descent. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within the Union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed and 3/5 of all other persons. When they refer to African Americans as 3/5 in the Constitution provision, they literally dehumanized a group of people in the fullest sense of the word. This mathematical equation demonstrated how the racial hierarchy was viewed. White people were 100% human, black people were only 3/5. Some defendants of the Constitution contend that it's unfair to use a 3/5 human clause as an example of inferiority because that was just a tactic used to negotiate the tax system. Yeah, okay. But arguing that point suggests that this provision is the only place where we see a historical dichotomy between black life and white life. Another unsightly example is the social and legal principle referred to as the one-drop rule. Any person with even one drop of sub-Saharan African blood was to be considered black. The message is sent through this law that others like this clear. Whites were the superior race, and even one single drop of inferior blood contaminated the purity of whiteness. The founders accepted a distorted version of the dominion that God entrusted to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. But this is of the dominion was especially sinful. Not only did they anoint us with a power that was not ours, they also used it to name other human beings. If this weren't audacious enough, they went beyond just naming in a generic way. They chose to found our country on a dehumanizing picture of an entire group of people being fundamentally merciless and savage. The Bible repetitively refers to human beings as God's treasured possessions. And to dehumanize another person is to demean those who are valuable according to God. The Most High said he was going to awaken us in the lands of our captivity. He was going to return our inheritance to us. And he was going to make the ones who have put us down at the bottom, he's going to switch everything and put them at the bottom and raise us up. So just saying that it's all about love and forget about history is not going to work. You know, even though you got your black churches who would want to say that Hebrew Israelites are racist, but they're actually defending the people who've actually perpetuated racism worldwide. So you can say whatever it is that you want, but the scriptures tell you that in the last days, the Most High is going to raise us up. He's going to wake us up in the lands of our captivity. And, you know, in the past, we were not a people, but later on, we're going to be looked at as the sons and daughters of the living power. That's exactly what you're seeing right now. So the churches don't want you to see that. So therefore, they're like excluding the Bible altogether. They're excluding all of the prophecies that are coming to pass, and they're just making up their own stuff with it doesn't matter in the past. Nothing matters in what happened in the past. Only thing that matters is love, love, love. But like it said, Jesus, when he died on the cross, was forgiving everyone. The church said they took those keys, but have they loved everyone? They've loved no one. They've only loved themselves and been out for themselves this entire time. And now you got these harlots pushing and protecting them, but that's not going to work. Most High sees everything. Shalom.